Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
Hello, my fellow film buffers. I love it when we, and I always say this. Whenever I start one of these episodes, I always say, I wish I did more episodes like this. But we're obsessive about movies, and all of my time is here with you talking about film. I love movies. I love characters and plot and storylines and the history of it all. And in the modern day, what the internet has to say and how the internet manipulates sequels, franchises, even films that they didn't even care about until they get wind of a casting choice that they don't agree with. But guess what? The internet is the marketplace of ideas, and everyone has a thought, everyone has an idea. Ideas are like buttholes, everyone has them. Moving on. I thought I would give you a little bit of my 2 cents about Green Lantern. You guys know I have a comic book background, used to work in an American comic shop, used to manage a huge chain. We made money. New Jersey. We were all over the place. Multiple stores taken over. I worked in comics. I dabble with what you might call comic book YouTube. A lot of my online friends are comic book adjacent. I just love comics. And the Green Lantern, this is one of the things you have to understand. When it comes to the Green Lantern side of the comic book world, we call that DC Comics. You have what we like to call the big two, DC Comics and Marvel Comics. Marvel is the Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, X-Men, Wolverine, Spider-Man. DC, there's a lot less there. Everything I just rambled off for Marvel. Multi-billion-dollar franchise, each one, no problem. It's a little bit more challenging when it comes to DC because they have Batman, aka the Dark Knight, Superman, aka the Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, and then from that point on, it's a little bit tough. You get a team like Teen Titans, maybe Doom Patrol, even though that had some good episodes. It was two or three seasons. Somewhat Brandon Fraser's comeback too was Doom Patrol. People like to say it was Whale. I get it. He got an Oscar for that movie, but his comeback was Doom Patrol. We get Swamp Thing, but that faded. We detailed that previously on this podcast. Aquaman, okay. Green Lantern. So we really don't get any teams for DC outside the Justice League of America, which is Aquaman, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, so on and so forth. But Green Lantern, as a comic book fan, as a comic book reader, well, it's a lot of fun, and it's super cool. He's a space cop, essentially, and he has a magic ring, and he has fellow space cop friends that are all alien, and they represent sectors. Now, sectors are collections of planets with life, and the Green Lantern goes, zips all around, fighting evil. It's very cool idea. It's very cool and fun when some of the stories are done a certain way. And the origin of Green Lantern is connected to another franchise that I hold dear in my heart. It's called Lensman. It's created by a guy named Doc E. Smith, aka he was a chemical engineer, chemical genius. I'm paraphrasing. I want to say he developed ways to manufacture donuts in factories and pastries. He was that good of a chemist. People could eat his chemistry. Well, in his spare time, he would be at dinner parties and yapping. Eventually, that yapping brought him to write a book. Through his novels, he created what was called the Lensman. The Lensman, in the early 80s, huge property, really big in Japan. One of Japan's animations, aka anime, one of the first anime theatrical releases was Lensman. Some people say it was the first theatrical release. Number 2 is a film you may have heard of called Akira. Asa Akira, the porn star, Oh, she named herself after that second theatrical release movie, Akira. So I grew up with this series. I wore the VHS down. I longed for, and yet to this day have yet to watch it. I believe it's on YouTube, but there's a TV series in Japan. I have yet to watch it, but recently, this took me some time to track down. And given I could have bought them like off of eBay at any time, but I was at this Pulp Fiction, not the movie, Pulp Fiction, like the stories you would read in the Pulp magazine. I was at a Pulp Fiction convention, and someone had all the Doc E. Smith Lensman trade paperbacks, $35. He said he was overpricing it, and I said I don't care. I bought it. He bought it. He literally bought this trade paperback box set from a fellow dealer at the convention for $25 and marked it up to $35. And I said I don't care. You're doing me a favor. Here's here's I'll pay the $25. I'll give you a $10 tip for getting this for me. How about that? It's like a DoorDash. We both had a good laugh for that one. So recently, I've been reading Lensman. Like these books they're just so much fun. But you see a lot of the Green Lantern DNA in Lensman, and a lot of people when I was growing up, the Green Lantern Lensman connection was always there. Because the Lensman had lenses that fit on the wrist, and the Green Lantern has a ring. When it comes to branding, marketing, ideas that you can kind of hold in your hand, a ring, Lord of the Rings, right? Like a ring is so much more open to the populace. Like people can grasp the idea of a ring, them grasping the idea of a lens, and then everything that kind of comes around that story. It's a little bit much. It's a little bit heavy. But Green Lantern, essentially space cops with rings, and when they think, they can think constructs like a fist or a hammer. That's as far as a construct should be able to go. Modern day, the constructs can be a Air Force jet or a car or like a speedboat. When we get into the lore and the history of the comics, the limitation of the constructs were you could make stuff like that, but you would have to be able to imagine every single moving part at all times. So if you were to make a gun, you would have to know all the moving parts of a gun. It's very it's somewhat the same logic as the T-1000 in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, where it's like, oh, he can't morph into moving parts. It does make a lot of sense. But now, even in the Ryan Reynolds movie, we have, I think at the end, he creates like two jets to kind of, that he kind of uses as, like a type of propulsion. He doesn't fly in the jets. He just uses the jets to hold him away from Parallax that's trying to suck him in, and he attaches the jets to his waist. Anyway, yeah, the 2011 movie, we will talk about it because, as you guys can tell, I'm ready to talk about Green Lantern. So we're going to go over, this is in the coming weeks, some of the cartoons, the movie. But after we do the 2011 movie, it's mostly going to be the cartoon appearances because that's all we have. And there we go. We're at the point here. I know it took me a little bit of time, but I'm going to land this plane. Trust me. A lot of the online backlash now for the Green Lanterns HBO Max show is this. They killed Hal Jordan. These guys don't use the ring enough. They fly around. And here's the funny thing. Like, they're not in their costumes, right? They use the ring only a few times in episode 1. They kill the main character that I think everyone saw coming, by the way, just based on the previews. Once they hype something up as like a true detective type story, you're like, oh, okay, it's like there's gonna have to be a hook by the end of this, and you're watching the episode, and you're like, the hook's going to be Hal's going to be dead. Very well could be dead, very well can't be dead. We have to see where some of these episodes go, but it's intriguing nonetheless. So the online backlash, it's easy, low-hanging fruit stuff. People will criticize Hal gets killed. They'll criticize that these guys don't wear the uniforms, that they don't fly enough, that they don't use the rings enough for their constructs. And the first time they use the ring is to light a cigarette. And that's crazy. The ring should be used for other things. Well, if we go into the lore of the ring and how it's used and the constructs, you would have a lot of my issues with it, which is you can't do moving parts. And as soon as you get moving parts from a ring construct, it kind of becomes silly, makes no sense. So I watched the 2011 movie, and I watched some of these animated ones. I'm reading Lensman, the inspiration for all of this. That predates Green Lantern too, by the way. And I realized something. See, when I was growing up, it was called Emerald Twilight. Emerald Twilight started this. It was maybe like 15-year deconstruction of Green Lantern and their hero, Hal Jordan, where he eventually would succumb to fear. And through that, he became a character named Parallax. And on his road to becoming Parallax, he would destroy his hometown, kill everyone around him, and kill all of the Green Lanterns, leaving only a handful of them left. One of them being a guy named Kyle Reiner, who I always liked. I liked him. I just thought he looked cool. I don't care about the other stuff. I think the path to get to that point in that character, very cool. Interesting stuff. See, in my view, the real Green Lantern should be Kyle, not Hal, not John Stewart. This is a controversial opinion in the world of comic books. It really is. It's maddening. Kyle is maybe one of the most unliked character upgrades or shifts in comic book history. But he's still around. They use him, and I think he's a character now called Ion. Cool stuff. So when I start reading this book, and throughout the years, I get to see one of DC's greatest heroes, one of the most liked character designs, and just marquee characters of all of DC Comics descend into hell, essentially. And it was nuts. It was awesome. So I watched the 2011 Green Lantern. And then I started watching some of these cartoons by DC Animation. And I realized that there's no way to introduce an audience to everything about Green Lantern. They have a couple of alien guys. They're called Guardians. Previously, the Guardians tried the same thing that they have with the Green Lanterns. They were called Manhunters. The Manhunters kind of became evil, went crazy. Everyone lives in a place called Oa. The rings choose the individuals, but I think they're subject to Guardian approval. And the Green Lanterns just meet up and they talk about the universe and they fight evil. One of them turns evil. His name is Sinestro. Not Hal Jordan, by the way. Originally it's Sinestro, but now they kind of, they meshed the two. It's just silly. See, when you realize that something is just flat out goofy, it can work as the medium that you're introduced to it in. Like, another good example. A lot of people might think The Shadow is amazing on radio, and it is. It is. The Shadow as a comic book, The Shadow as a novel, The Shadow as Alec Baldwin. Remember that movie? Doesn't land. The idea itself, a little bit too abstract. But the radio, when you listen to it, the way you magnify and imagine his powers and the way how people react around him and the way he's able to slither around the world. Because he's a good guy, but he's got this edge, which makes him so freaking cool. You say to yourself, wow, Peanuts. Charles Schultz. Best as a comic strip. I can sit down and read those things day and night. Ask me if I ever saw the Peanuts animated movie. Sure, there's some cartoons, but they're 20-minute long anecdotes. But none of it's the comic strip. It's not even close. Green Lantern is a franchise that best exists within and on the comic book page. Period. It doesn't work in animation. It doesn't work as a movie. When I realized this, and I feel like I got a gift, I feel like kind of like God came down and touched me to give me this revelation, because it helped me enjoy this new show, because I view the choices of this new show and what they've chosen to do, the positioning of the story. I view it as highly intelligent, and I view it as a good reach to finalize what the audience is for Green Lantern. And I say finalize because they're making it into adult entertainment. So let that be. I just think so much of it's silly. I really do. That doesn't mean that there's not times in the comic where guys like Jeff Johns brought back Hal Jordan. And like I said, everything from Emerald Twilight, you got Emerald Twilight to a miniseries called Rebirth, Green Lantern Rebirth. It's one of the best comic book reads of all time. And then from Rebirth, you get what's called Blackest Night. Further expansion, but also deconstruction of everything Green Lantern with the rings. There's more than one color now. It's a spectrum. The rings, because they represent all these different emotions. It gets nuts, but at the same time, it's also it needs to be capped, because it's too expansive and it's almost too powerful. It's just too much. That's why I like Kyle Reiner. Let there be one of these guys left. It just makes so much more sense. All right, AK Powders. These are my thoughts on the Green Lantern franchise. I'm going to try and bring you something new Green Lantern every Monday night coming forward. That's what she said. First up is Green Lantern First Flight. And I think at that point we have another 2 or 3 animated movies. We might talk about some episodes of Justice League Unlimited. We will also discuss Green Lantern's first animated appearance in the Superman Aquaman Hour special, because they used to do 2 episodes back to back. That's only 7 minutes. We might touch on a couple other items, but that's it for now. All right, AK Powders. Thanks for hanging out. I love you guys. Rock and roll.
Okay, that's a wrap.